This is Julian Shaw Taylor.
It's the end of the line, yeah. And we're sliding away.
And you're listening to the New Wave Music Podcast.
T-Bone here along with Steve, and we'd like to present another new music spotlight. This episode, we're going to talk to Joe Lekkas, lead singer of the band Palm Ghost. And we also have another special guest in the studio with us. Now, who is with us also?
Ben Douglas from Palm Ghost.
Ben Douglas, good. So Ben and Joe, we are thrilled to have you here with us. Welcome to the podcast. Steve, I think you've got the first question.
Yeah, and this one's for either one of you or both. Is how and when did Palm Ghost get together?
This current incarnation of the band was about 2018, but I formed Palm Ghost back in Philadelphia in 2014, but it was more of a indie folk kind of electronic project for a few years. And then in 2018, me and Ben started collaborating on what became this version of Palm Ghost, starting with the record Architecture.
Where does the name Palm Ghost come from, or what's the story behind the band name?
So I always say it's kind of like the idea of duality or yin and yang, like the idea of ghosts haunting a beach, darkness and light, saying dark things to beautiful melodies, that whole thing. I always like that idea.
Oh no, that's good. A good way of looking at it. So you guys aren't exactly a new band. You've been around for a little while now. How many albums do you guys currently have?
We have 4 full-length records and 3 EPs, and we have Architecture, Lost Frequency, Lifeboat Candidate, and Post Preservation are our full lengths. That's this version of Palm Ghost. There were a couple earlier records, but it's not the same profile. And then we have a Loop Arcade, Dead Stars, and Wide Awake and Waiting, 3 EPs.
Oh, nice. Okay, so yeah, you guys have been doing quite a bit of work.
Yep.
Let's talk about the band itself. Why don't you tell us who's in the band and the instruments that they play?
My name's Ben. I play guitar and write lyrics and melodies for a lot of the songs. And then you got Walt, who plays drums, and Joe, who plays bass and writes and,
Sings.
Lyrics and records and sings.
We have Jason Springman. Yes. Has been in the band up to this point, but he had just left the band because of touring. Touring was very difficult for Jason, so he left right before the release of this record.
But any crazy guitar things that are really, really out there are Jason's.
Yeah, so, Jason's been recording guitar for. He's one of the guitar players on all the records. So, but right now we tour as a trio. We've been doing it for a little bit as a trio. So Ben handles all the guitar duties, bass and lead vocals, and then Walt on drums.
Well, Ben, you're kind of my, and you're all very good on it, but Ben, you're kind of my hero on this album because I just absolutely love all the guitar work on it. It's just fantastic. It's kind of a shimmering guitar sound that goes along with the rest of the music and very, very well done.
Well, a lot of that is Jason
as well. It's both you guys.
Yeah, I do a little bit, but live I handle all the guitar now, but a lot of the recording is Jason's.
We'll give you the credit though.
I like it.
So you guys open up your bio with this description: the sound of an 80s prom in a war zone located in the dead heart of country music, Nashville, Tennessee. And I think you're pretty accurate on that, and probably why our listeners are going to dig you guys. The band has that kind of dark wave sound, at least on Post Preservation. Who would you say are some of your greatest influences?
I love The Cure. I love Psychedelic Furs. I love New Order. Love Joy Division, but New Order, Joy Division. Just a lot of the new wave stuff from the 80s I'm a big fan of. Not necessarily like tons of goth stuff, but goth adjacent stuff. Like Sisters of Mercy is okay, but I've got a pop. I love pop music, so a lot of the new waves. I grew up listening to Duran Duran and all that stuff as well. So And then Ben's influences are along the lines of the 90s, a little bit more like Lemonheads, Elvis Costello, which would be 80s, 70s even. So it's a mix of those. It's maybe a little Radiohead would be an influence of Ben's, but I'm definitely like the new wave head in the band for sure.
Nice. No wonder you're on this episode, huh?
Absolutely.
So, those are some of your influences. And since many of our listeners may not be familiar with Palm Ghost, I guess just the straightforward way to ask this is, what would you guys say that your sound most resembles, so that our listeners can kind of know what they would be getting themselves into if they started listening to your band?
That's a really difficult thing for us, just because of all those a lot of people say it's kind of a culmination of a lot of 80s music people grew up with if they listen to post-punk music, like 77 to 84. So it's got like live, it's a little bit more aggressive, but I think it's a distillation of like post-punk and new wave music. Very, very little goth, but it's got there's a lot of darker overtones to it. But I'm just going by what people say. It says they say they want to like wear Doc Martens and smoke clove cigarettes when they hear our music. So if that's any indication of the feeling that you'd get from it, I guess that would be it.
So before we really jump into the new album, I do have to ask you about one of your older songs. I need to ask, what's the story behind the song John Carpenter? I love that song.
Okay, so that was a song by Jason, and that is a song about John Carpenter. So he basically he took the characters in a lot of John Carpenter's movies, and he kind of put the story together. Do you remember like what he was explaining?
Some of them like seem like kind of like lines, or just straight like things from the movies themselves. Like a lot of it, like he just kind of put it together. Yeah, I mean that's.
But John Carpenter is he's the center of the song, the person John Carpenter. But it had stuff to do with the characters kind of coming together.
Maybe it's John Carpenter being haunted by his own creations.
I say that would be
I did love how you were able to work in a Big Trouble in Little China reference to that song.
Yes. Oh, we would love
that's
that.
That's one of Steve's favorites.
No, yeah, Jason's a fanatic. It was a John Carpenter fanatic.
You kind of mentioned, you kind of alluded to this a moment ago, but for some bands, one member writes all the songs, and other bands, it's more of a group effort. How is it with you guys in Palm Ghosts?
So we're pretty collaborative. Me and Ben come up with, I'd say, about 95% of the stuff. I'll work on a lot of musical ideas, send it off to Ben. Ben will work on melodies. Sometimes I'll come up with a melody. Sometimes, mostly Ben will tweak it. We'll work on a melody, send it back to me, and then I'll sing it. But like 95% of the lyrics are from Ben. Jason would always, when Jason was in the band, he would write himself. He was a little bit more solitary with it, but me and Ben are kind of crazy as far as like collaborative. Like we're always writing songs, we're always working on stuff. We record everything in this room that I'm in right now, which is our studio in my house. And Walt I'll put down like a basic drum idea, and then Walt will come in and make it his own and kind of make the real kind of an interesting. He's jazz trained. He's trained in a lot of different types of music. So yeah, that's how we kind of put it together and then record it all here. And yeah, that's how we collaborate usually.
Well, and speaking of here, where are you guys from?
Me and Walt are really from New Jersey, lived in Philadelphia for years. So I was part of the Philadelphia music scene for a long time.
I'm from Maryland, and I kind of moved to Nashville around the same time Joe did.
2014.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the newest album, Post Preservation, which was released on October 28th. How long did you guys work on this album to get it all finished up?
Okay, so the way we do a lot of stuff is me and Ben, like I said, how our process is the writing, where we send stuff back and forth, and then we'll get together here in the studio and he'll record guitars and we'll do some different stuff. We have a kind of a running, what would you say, like a bunch of songs that are unreleased, probably around 50, a little shy of 50. When we put together records, we kind of go back through the archives and pair them with newer songs that we really like and combine those into records, like-minded ideas for songs.
So some of the songs are way older than other songs that are on there. So it's just we kind of pick through all the songs we have and make an album out of it.
And we've done that many times. The only record that was a little different was Lifeboat Candidate, which was written during the pandemic. So that was, the drummer would send me iPhone recordings of his drums. I would drop them into Pro Tools, do all the work on it, send it to Ben. Ben would write the lyrics, send it back. Jason would record guitars. So that was 9-10 songs that were recorded in one period, basically about the pandemic and how the world was at that time. Post-Preservation is a lot of new songs, but a lot of songs that were maybe written before the pandemic. So I know it's an odd way. It's not like we learn a bunch of songs and then go into a studio, play them. That's what we classically used to do. But now technology is such that you can just get all these things together and really say like, oh, this works really well in this order. So we'll throw the orders around a little bit. We'll listen to how the orders work together. And then we'll say, that sounds like a record. And then we put it out.
You know, we just talked to Julian Shaw Taylor, who is in he's in everything from a big Depeche Mode tribute band. He does a tribute for David Bowie, and he has his own just amazing solo material, numerous albums actually. And we asked him about how long he's been doing music, and you just kind of alluded to that. How long have both of you two been creating music?
Oh, I've been doing this since I've been a kid. I mean, I was running around my grandfather's house he was a mandolin player with a broken mandolin, pretend like I was a rock star on stage. For many, many years. I've been playing for at least, I don't even know. I'm afraid to say how many years I've been playing. Years plus. Been, you know.
Yeah, probably since I was like 14, 15. I'm 42 now. So, and been in and out of bands, most of my life. So
a good chunk of your life. Yeah. Fantastic.
I've been in thousands of bands. I'll name them all if you want.
So on the new album, some songs that I really enjoyed were Signal.
To your own signal, you're addicted. To your own signal, can't maintain.
Silent Fall.
Save a place for me and you, where I can get lost. Where your silent dreams for whispers on my ear.
No Joy.
I get no joy from people these days. Demons and medications, waiting, breaking lips, shivering. I get no joy from people these days.
And the closing track, Lost Time.
I'm just directing amusements on a burial ground. On a burial ground.
Yeah.
Is there a particular song on the album that was one of your favorites?
Both of you.
I really love Signal. I thought that one was a really fun, dancey song. I think we judge the songs we really like by the ones that just have us dancing around the house. Like, we listen to our music a lot to see like, okay, well, how's this going to work? How's this going to work on the record as we're piecing these records together? And that was one I never got sick of hearing. Sometimes you get sick of hearing songs and you're like, and then you rediscover them later and say, oh, that wasn't so bad. What was I thinking? But I was sick of it. Signal was really fun for me. I think that's one of them. And I like Believer a lot, personally. That's one that I think it just kind of gets me in it. It's very poppy.
When you've been tricked too many times to take my word for it, or count on anyone still coming through, or what it takes to make a believer out of you.
So I kind of dig that song. How about you?
Yeah, Signal's definitely one of them. Like, I was definitely been dancing in my socks listening to that. Like Fractured is like one that I like too, just because it's, it was a little off the beaten path.
Raise out the wall you had to draw the fractured world in view. To run its just cook out.
sometimes I gravitate towards the weirdest song in the bunch. I do that with people too, so it's no wonder.
So in my viewpoint, there's sort of a dichotomy to your guys' music. On one hand, like I mentioned earlier, you have that shimmering guitars. And then on the other hand, there's a little bit more of a dark wave synth and vocals. I think the opening track, like you just mentioned, Signal, one of my favorites, is a prime example. How do you guys find that balance between the two?
Oh, I think I love a lot of shoegaze music too. So I like a lot of 90s shoegaze stuff. And I feel like there's always some sort of like shimmery kind of Ben loves both Ben and I love power pop music, a lot of power pop stuff. So kind of jangly guitars and arpeggiated guitars and is part of it. And then like I love Depeche Mode and I love New Order and I love stuff that's a little bit on the darker side with like arpeggiated synths and like just four on the floor kicks and like danciness. So I think accidentally we've kind of combined those two styles together in what we do. So it's a little shoegaze, it's a little dream pop. Like if you look at people have said stuff from the Cocteau Twins to Peter Gabriel to a Psychedelic Furs. So they're kind of all bands that a person would like that's into that same type of music. They're very different sounding, and I think we try to throw those like Factory Records, Creation Records, and 4AD type of stuff all into like a potpourri, if you will. We don't really say that's too shoegazy or that's too dancey. We release what we feel like is good, and we don't try to like trim things down to fit one sound. So that's how that mix kind of comes together, I think.
Well, I was going to say that this might be a little obscure, but you guys seem to know your 80s music. One of my favorite songs on the album is She Lies Awake.
She lies awake, starlight map above her head. The morning breaks, broken down and left for dead.
For me, that song sounds like it came right off of a Mighty Lemon Drops album, which is a great compliment. You're familiar with the band?
Oh, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I just thought it sounded exactly like one of their songs. And like I say, that's a great compliment because they're a wonderful band.
Cool. Yeah, She Lies Awake, I think, was one of the ones that was way before the pandemic. And that was a song that I had kind of composed on my own here, just the whole thing. And then I think you might have played guitar on some of it. I'm not quite sure what it was, but that kind of came in later. And I'm like, this might be a good pop song to add to an already poppy first side of this record. Well, thanks. I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah, it's a great track. I love it.
The most recent single you guys released before the album came out was Silent Fall. As I mentioned, it's a great song, but I have to ask, who's the vocalist on there with you?
I could have gone my whole life through without a feeling good as this, even if it's only for this moment now.
That's Annie McHugh. So Annie McHugh is Australian. She currently lives in Nashville. She lived in Los Angeles for a lot of years, has done a lot of touring she toured with Lucinda Williams before, opening up for her in the past. She's great. She's a big fan of like XTC and a lot of bands that like a lot of early new wave bands. So we're kind of kindred spirits with that. So I love her voice. Reminds me a little bit of Christy McCall sometimes. I just really like what she does. So I actually ask her when I need want to do like a duet or a female vocal on a track, I usually ask Annie, and she always does a great job, and she's done a few on our record.
Ben, I think you mentioned Believer, and that's another one of my favorite tracks on the album. Is that song referring to anyone in particular?
No, not really. I mean, it's just it's like a basic two, like a couple kind of song, I suppose. Mm-hmm. Could be two friends, could be two lovers, could be relatives. It's just about two people that people don't trust each other anymore. So it's more about, trying to form that bond to where, people believe in each other enough to have a bond together, kind of thing.
Is that one of them that you wrote?
Yeah.
So outside of the new album, there's some other tracks of yours I really enjoy and I'd recommend to our listeners, such as Love in Winter.
There's nothing left to fear. I've drowned it all in tears. On the moment you slipped into the night.
Bloodlight. Is it Cortisol?
Cortisol, yeah.
I would walk if I were there, but the fear is gone, and the road is gone.
I love the percussion mix on the Hound.
What is lost ain't always found. Darkness tracks you like a hound. The sky is streaked and gray, and nothing ever kills the day.
But the song Amaya was phenomenal. That's the one that really kind of sold me and got me really hooked into you guys. Can you tell me more about that song?
Well, I mean, I guess Amaya, I mean, the actual name means mother, I believe. I guess I had lost my mom maybe the year before that. I guess it was just based on that, basically. Like, I mean, it doesn't have to be that relationship necessarily. I mean, I kind of like to leave songs to where they're vague enough for people to fill in the blanks to own them themselves, you know? I try not to make it too obvious, but like, yeah, I mean, basically it's my mom was a big, inspirational person to me. And even though she's gone, I still bounce things off of her from how I remember her and how I would know she would respond to things. So I guess that's basically what that song is about.
Well, it's a great song. It's one that I've used to, people ask me who Palm Ghosts are. It's the track I play. And they're immediately like, wow, this is a really good band. So whether it be a new or one of your new songs, one of your old songs, what are some of your favorite Palm Ghost songs that you would recommend to our listeners to start with?
I like Wide Awake and Waiting. To me is one of my favorite songs that we've done.
Wide awake and waiting. I will wait. I will hold.
It gets a lot of response, I think, for people that love early. It's kind of like an early New Order, late Joy Division vibe, and I like that one a lot personally. I like Bloodlight. I love playing Bloodlight. To me, that's a really fun song. We start our set with Bloodlight mostly, and I like that. I think we've captured something of a Depeche Mode vibe on that one that I think is kind of neat. So that one I like a lot. So what's the other one that Annie sang on? Lorelei, I like a lot. As well, that to me is really, I don't know, something is really I get a great vibe from that one when I hear it. How about you?
I mean, Blind, I think is that's like kind of our closing song.
Wanted to see my world on fire. If that's what you need to see, then you're already blind. Are we so far removed? Our connection is denial.
I like that because it's really dark in the verses, but like the chorus is really kind of hopeful and powerful. Like Signal, like I said, because that we've had that song for a while now. I've never got tired of that song, just like Joe said. I mean, it's very repetitive in the lyrics, but like all the elements meet up at the end. It's sort of, I'm a big Not a Surf fan, and like Not a Surf always has these endings where it's like, like a fugue of ideas coming together at the end, and it's always kind of like a powerful thing. Like when when you can make it rise to that, to where everything's being said at the end. Yeah, I mean,
Revelation Engines.
Revelation Engines.
I
Yes.
like that one a lot
That's
too.
another one, and we find people respond to that really well too.
Fanatics in the game to win. Politics on adrenaline. Running mad to stop the end. Revelation engines. Charging faith into the friend.
Everyone's been touched by religion in some way, and I think that song kind of, gets some of that angst out for people and for us.
Which album is that one on?
Lifeboat Candidate. So that Lifeboat Candidate, if you were to put it like as far as the records go, Architecture was guy girl vocals to the entire record. There was Erica used to be in our band, and that has like kind of a gothy kind of guitar. I don't even know how to explain it, but like just more of a early 80s goth kind of vibe. And then Lifeboat Candidate sounds like Gang of Four meets oh god, I don't even know. It's more angular and more angry and more jagged. And then the last two records that we put out, including Post Preservation and Lost Frequency, they're more 80s mixed and more like I hear like New Order, but it mixes it all up. But I think Lifeboat's just like an angry, pointed record. The vibe of it sounds like to me. You got to be in the mood for that one.
I've got to ask, any chance we're going to see Palm Ghost come out west?
We're talking about it. We have a lot of people that listen to us in Los Angeles. We haven't played there. So the plan is to eventually do it. It's kind of further for us. So it's like you really have to kind of commit to that. We just have to make sure the shows make sense for us to get out there. But I would love to come play out west. I mean, we just did a Canadian tour in May where we went completely from Windsor to Quebec City, and that was amazing. That was a 2-week thing that we had, and so I guess we could just go out that way as well. Los Angeles, I think we do okay there, maybe. And you guys are in Salt Lake City, right?
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
that's a big new wave scene there.
Oh yeah, huge.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever played out in the West?
No, I have not. No, we've played almost we play a lot in the Midwest. We play not a lot in the South, actually, but we live in the South, but like we play Atlanta, we play Nashville, but I feel like our biggest audiences currently are the Midwest. Milwaukee, Chicago will do okay. And then Philadelphia, New York, like, East Coast. So that's where we've mostly been going.
Well, for the last question, where can our listeners find Palm Ghost's music?
You can find us, everywhere. We're on Spotify. We're on Bandcamp. If you want to purchase stuff, we have it all there on Bandcamp, Apple Music. We're everywhere you stream.
Well, and we'll be sure to put links to in our description for your Bandcamp and everywhere. We want to see you guys be a huge success.
Oh, thank you. That's great.
Well, Joe and Ben, we'd like to thank you guys for joining us on the podcast, and also for being listeners to the New Wave Music Podcast. It's really refreshing. Glad to have our listeners on that have a great band. And I really hope our listeners enjoy Palm Ghost as much as I have and T-Bone has. We wish you guys nothing but success. And hopefully we'll get to see Palm Ghost one day closer on the West Coast.
I hope so. Hopefully soon.
Well, thanks again, guys. We really appreciate it. We wish you the best of success, and we hope you have a great year.
Thank you.
You too. Thanks,
Cool.
Steve. Thanks, T-Bone.
Yeah, thanks, guys.